The White Center West Seattle communities came together on March 17th in support of the family of Justin Cline. Cline, who passed away unexpectedly earlier in March, was the well known owner of Full Tilt Ice Cream. Sponsored by Itos Tapas, the event at the West Seattle Eagles featured a live auction of numerous items donated by local businesses. Several people rose to speak at the event, recalling touching and humorous stories about their friend, Justin Cline.
It's hard to know where to start to say, can everybody hear me? First of all, saying like just a few words about Justin Cline is not an easy thing to do. And I tried to get through this earlier without crying my eyes out, and I couldn't do it no matter how hard I tried, so we're just all gonna go on this journey together. First of all, thank you all for being here. Anne really wanted to be here, and she asked me to tell you all thank you from the bottom of her heart. People have really showed up in so many amazing ways for her family, and she is deeply grateful. And she really did want to be here, but it's been a big week for the kids, and she just needed to be at home. So she sends her love. She says Justin would think this was absolutely freaking crazy. And I see so many people in here who really loved him and knew him really well in various capacities for a long time. So I could say a lot about Justin and barely scratch the surface of who he was, but I'm going to try. I met him a little over a decade ago. My family had been customers at his ice cream shop for a long time before we knew them, because we could get our pick of vegan ice cream flavors, which weren't widely available back then. And there was pinball and local art, and we could drink beer while our kid had ice cream. And there were always like anarchist zines that we could take home, and we just felt really at home there. And when we did meet Anne and Justin, which we did initially, Anne and I were swapping childcare. We met in a mom's group. And we got to know them as a family, and we learned that we had a lot in common. And we lived like 3 blocks down the street, so we kind of just merged our households in a lot of ways from then on. Our sons are about the same age. And so we have put our kids in the same schools. We've shared a lot of family meals and crazy, chaotic sleepovers and forts and camping trips. And there's even a primary school talent show where our sons performed Intergalactic to an audience of children who had no idea who the Beastie Boys were, but to like a crowd of very enthusiastic parents. And a lot of that comes from like the time that the kids spent with Justin. Like they were always listening to music, they were always making music, they were always making music videos with Justin. I think a lot of us knew him initially as Mr. Full Tilt, a really generous, colorful small business owner who could always be counted on to donate to a school auction or support a worthy cause. During the time that we knew him, he donated proceeds from the shop to racial equity movements, reproductive rights movements, most recently the Palestinian Children's Fund. Justin was unapologetic about standing up for what he believed in, and also about showing up for people who he believed needed help. He's helped so many of us in this room in various ways over the years. He didn't ever hesitate to show up however he could. He and Anne and other friends delivered Full Tilt to teachers on the picket line when teachers went out on strike, and they were constantly supporting local musicians and artists and small business owners. Justin was dedicated to keeping downtown White Center fun and affordable and accessible for families. And as a writer for the Seattle Met pointed out, not many venues can boast being the best place for a kid's birthday party or a Mudhoney show. And that says a lot about Justin. That's kind of the public version of Justin, but the way I knew Justin best was as a dad. And I know a lot of you knew him that way too. I asked my son about a memory of Justin that really summed up who Justin was as a dad. And he said when we were little and we were afraid of the dark, and he would come in with a bottle of water that said tiger spray, and he would spray the room, and then he would spray us. That was like the last thing he would do. And he was like, it always just made us feel really safe and like silly. And that was really Justin as a dad. He was constantly composing background music for like toddler songs and, you know, tween rock concerts, and he let the kids climb all over him, and he had pillow fights, and he picked them up in these giant bear hugs. And he would sometimes open the ice cream shop after hours at the end of the summer before they went back to school, so they could eat way too much ice cream and just like feel like the luckiest kids on the face of the earth. He was always the guy who brought the most fireworks to Lacey and Donnie's 4th of July, and the kids like flocked to him like the giant, colorful ice cream making wizard that he was to all of them. And when their daughter Ruby came along, she was totally capable of keeping up with the whole pack of older boys that we had, even though she was like 5 years younger. And she had Justin wrapped around her little finger before she was like able to talk. He snuggled her to sleep every night. And he would bring her bedtime pickles. And basically whatever else she wanted. He taught her how to balance on a skateboard, and he got her started playing guitar. She has her own punk rock band, the Electric Diamonds. He taught her how to fly a kite on the coast. He loved flying kites on the coast. And I got to know him a lot better as the kids got older, and especially with the pandemic, we just kind of like potted up, and we did all of our holidays together, and we made up holidays. We ran out of holidays because Justin always wanted to try some new recipe. He loved sharing food with people. He had crazy stories about cults and bands and riding his bicycle to Mexico, and he was super crafty. He was always sending me home with like homemade soap or handmade pottery or buttons or stickers or political art. We learned early on that we had both been arrested for anti-nuclear activism as younger people. Justin got a felony for his, I just got a warning. But there were a lot of great stories, and you never knew what was going to come up. And that's one thing that I've been talking about with our other friends is like how much we miss just like hearing whatever random stuff was going to come out of his mouth. Like what cool new restaurant he wanted to tell you about and like hype up, you know, what new musician or artist he wanted to support and platform. He was endlessly energetic for like wonderful new things that he could share with people. Sorry. Justin really delighted in finding the kids like super off the wall perfect gifts. Last Christmas he found someone who made cardboard hippie vans for guinea pigs. For my son who rescues guinea pigs. It was like the most niche and specific gift in the history of child gifting, and that's Justin. Callum, my son, and Moss have been building like a gaming cave in the basement for the last few months, and the last gift that Justin bought for Moss was for his 13th birthday, and it was this like neon Zelda logo. And Moss's birthday was a week after Justin's heart attack when he was still in ICU, and Anne was at the hospital, and we opened presents on like FaceTime. And Moss opened that, and he just like shrieked with joy. And I don't know if any of you have seen Moss lately, but he is no longer like the little like round-cheeked kid that we used to see at full tilt. He is like as tall as me. And he shrieked with joy. He was so delighted. And that was Justin. Like he knew the kids like inside and out. And he made them feel seen, and he made them feel special, and he gave them space to be wacky and pursue whatever was exciting to them, whatever they were passionate about. And Ruby is basically his mini-me. She's totally punk rock and creative and energetic and easily distracted and passionate and irreverent and deeply, deeply loving. The kids have so much of Justin in them. And Anne and Justin loved each other for a really long time. And they loved each other really well. They got together in 2003. They were both really into music and travel and pinball and food and camping and books and art and food, and they gave each other a hard time all the time. And they cared for each other in 1,000 different big and small ways that can make a partnership really strong for a really long time. They got a pop-up tent trailer a couple years ago, and they took the kids out as much as they could, even though summer's really busy for Justin. And last summer we went camping at Cape Disappointment for Justin's birthday. And Anne reserved a party room at an arcade in Long Beach, where all the employees assumed the birthday boy was a child named Justin. And he was the biggest kid in the crew. Honestly, he totally was. And he had so much fun. He just like flew kites and walked on the beach. And he brought these cast iron contraptions for cooking gourmet grilled cheese over campfires that he had bought, that he thought would be fun. And they were super fun. We had gourmet vegan grilled cheese. So I could talk about Justin for hours, and I'm gonna cut myself off. But I just want to say that the last 5 weeks have been really, really difficult for their family in all kinds of unimaginable ways. And the saving grace of this horrible time has been how much care this community has shown them. And all of you here tonight are an expression of that. All of you here tonight are a reflection of the way Justin showed up. And I think that, you know, he didn't spare words for bigots, and there's lots of ways that we can honor his legacy in doing the same. But I think more than anything, if we can show up for each other, and we can keep showing up for each other as a community, that is the best way to honor Justin. And so thank you all for doing that here tonight. The family's really grateful.
I want to touch on the thing about Justin's nuclear activism for just a second, because that triggered a memory for me before I go into this story. Not that long ago, we were hanging out at another Eagles club, and he starts off the conversation by, yeah, so one time when I was in lockup in LA County, and everybody stopped talking. And it was directly related to the story that was just presented to you. It was about his activism when he was young. He always supported people in a way that he was a champion for people in a way that other people would be too afraid to do. So, I'm going to tell you a story about a cast of characters that surrounded Justin and why he fit in and how he was integral to this community. So, on a typical rainy day in Seattle, a bunch of guys are sitting at the bar with IPAs in hand, and in walks this big bearded personality. I had never seen him before. After a long silence, I hear from the end of the bar, "Aren't you the ice cream guy?" And that's how we all got to know Justin Cline. The former community center of White Center, or otherwise known as Big Al's Brewery. Alejandro's out here in the crowd. Was host to a serious bunch of interesting characters, and Justin fit right in. Eddie, sitting over there, the front end manager. Devron, the bar counselor. Chuck, the impromptu chef for unadvertised Wednesday steak nights. Khalid, the pizzeria owner who would bring in a stack of pies just because. Matt, the musician. Banjo Terry, Heath, the gearhead. Louise, the roughneck, and his wife Dancine. Harry and Rick, the race car drivers, and a cast and crew only made for stories you wouldn't believe. Then there was Justin. A man who once told me he couldn't copy and paste another line of code because there was more to life. A former shipwright and carpenter, self-taught coder, a newly minted founder of Full Tilt Ice Cream. Justin decided to go into the ice cream business, and he went in full tilt. With no background in the business, he taught himself to make ice cream by watching YouTube videos. Contacted some of his friends who had inroads into the business, then set up his production capacity in his first store. A little nugget of information most of you might not know is that he was violently intolerant to dairy, which is why there were so many dairy-free and vegan options available. Justin was always ready for the community. He was heavily involved in White Center and always ready to contribute. He even hosted my own teenage daughter's Riot Girl band in his White Center joint. I couldn't believe he subjected his employees to this. He was a family man who was survived by 2 children and a widow, his wife Anne and young children Ruby and Moss. Alas, this is why we are here today. As eagles trying to help each other, it is our honor to do what we can to ease the immediacy of suffering this family has endured. To this end, I hope you will all join me in a toast. To Justin Cline, the ice cream man in the sky, may your flavor never fade.
I'm the other guy from White Center with orange glasses. I was I was born in that town, and I've always lived in that town. And in the 80s, it was a little drab. It's a little rough. Like, you wouldn't go out. I wouldn't go out to an ice cream shop in White Center in the 80s. First of all, there wasn't one, and it was dangerous. But I think I met Justin and Ann when they opened that White Center shop. And having lived there my whole life, I've met lots of characters, but like, that guy was the one. That was the one. Instantly, we were friends. He figured out I had a pinball machine at my house. He's like, "Oh, you should check out this shop I'm about to open." I played pinball aimlessly at full tilt for more hours than I can even imagine. And I hadn't had a real job in like 10 years. And I needed to get one. So I said to Justin one day, I said, "Hey, what's going on with that delivery job?" He says, "Can you start Monday?" And like right then, it was on. I'd go down to the commissary, I'd go down there, have a cup of coffee, sneak upstairs, play the drums for a few minutes, because I worked at a place where there was a drum set up in the office. It was probably the funnest job I will ever had in my life, or will ever have. I'd go deliver ice cream, and I'd hit whatever thrift stores were in the neighborhood that I was delivering. And I heard chatter later on in the warehouse like, "Damn, that Donnie takes a long time delivering ice cream." It's because I'm in the Value Village for 35 minutes, you know? But I was forever grateful for that job, because he got me he got me back into the business of working. And the guy, he would have hired any friend. He would have hired any schmo off the street if you could just demonstrate some sort of desire to work. He was an amazing character. The stories of the California punk rock stories. I mean, he met all these weird characters. I'm fascinated with that sort of stuff. And yeah, we started having these, maybe he wasn't into the nukes, but he sure as hell was into the firecrackers and the mortars. We started having these 4th of July parties, and he'd show up with just like a trunk load of explosives. And it would start at 3, 4 in the afternoon. He'd show up with all these explosives. And I'd be like, "Well, it might be a little too light out to be setting those off just yet." But we'd just get right on it. And I got a story. I got stories about 4th of July and stuff. Things got a little hot. We had 5-year-olds holding the Roman candles. There's photo evidence. We have 5-year-olds holding Roman candles. I live next to a church, and we've got a giant football field, sort of a parking lot out there. We had kids holding Roman candles. Me and Justin sitting back like this, like wondering if this is going to go over too well. We got 5-year-olds with Roman candles. Justin liked to light the 100 pack off all at once. He didn't just light a firecracker. The dude would light the whole 100 pack. We'd throw them around. And I had this, I had my little kid's my little red wagon. So I thought I'd put on some earplugs and light a 100 pack and put it in the wagon and run it around the parking lot. This seemed like a good idea at the time, until all the fireballs and everything started burning me. But this was just the kind of thing that happened when Cline was around. I heard a story at the Full Tilt warehouse. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just pyromania. Anyways, I heard one day at the Full Tilt warehouse, it was like 90 degrees, and there was a fan going in the warehouse. Now this is probably before a lot of you people had Full Tilt, so don't worry. You didn't get no spit in your ice cream. But there was a fan in the warehouse, and Justin thought it was pretty cool to start spitting this water into the fan. You know, there's a fan going, and he took a drink of water, and the water goes all over the place, you know. So it's going on all the ice cream. I mean, you know it. Don't worry, this was at least 13 years ago. But yeah, he's in the warehouse spitting water into this fan, blowing his vaporized water all over the warehouse. And somebody came up and is like, "Man, you know we're making food in here, you know. You can't do that." But anyways, I'll really miss the guy. We're pretty close to the same age. And I'll really miss the guy, and nobody would have gave me a job when he gave me a job. It was very much appreciated, and he basically, my little town will never be the same. So thank you, Justin.
Justin's family. I've known Justin for over a decade now. Like our James said, our hangout spot was Big Al's. He's right there. I love that spot. That's where I met most of my friends. Eddie is one of the best people to meet. He's right there too. I appreciate Edo's crew for all the effort that they put in today. The Eagles Club for giving us this amazing space. And if you're not an Eagle member, I would suggest you join us because it's one of the best fraternities you can join. It's all welcome, and I'm proud to be an Eagle member here. I'm gonna keep it short. Justin's gonna be really missed. He's one of the kindest person I've ever met. I have never asked Justin for help and said no. He's been a kind man to me. He will always be in my heart, my thoughts, and I appreciate you all coming to support him and his wife, and I'm sure his legacy will always stay in White Center. He's one of the best people in West Seattle, and I'm glad that I get to meet him and get to know him in person. So thank you all for coming.